I'm getting flashbacks right now to the 2018 semifinal between Nadal and Djokovic. Remember that? Novak up 2-1. Curfew hits. They have to restart it the next day. Djokovic holds on to win. Here I am again, analyzing a Wimbledon match, which isn't over because they couldn't go past 11 p.m. It is Andy Murray leading Stefanos Tsitsipas 2-1 at the break. So let's analyze what we've seen thus far, talk a little bit about what we might see tomorrow, and have some fun with it. I had so much fun watching the match because the level is sky high. It has been absolutely spectacular. And I mean, for Tsitsipas, I'll start with him. You knew it right away just by his body language and the look in his eyes. And I don't say that stuff a lot. It's not usually a part of my analysis. I don't talk about, body language all that much. But it's crazy sometimes with Stefanos. I saw the same thing in January, and I hadn't seen it since January. I saw it again here where there's a certain mean, focused determination every single point, and a confidence and a positivity in his body language that is so unmistakable. And you saw it right away in this match. You could look into his eyes and just tell that he was just locked in. And then the tennis followed, where, I mean, in particular, his forehand, which when it's on is as good as anyone's. It's, arguably, you can make an argument that it's the best in the world, but, there's a bunch of other good arguments for other forehands as well. Point is, it was absolutely spectacular here. And he made a high percentage of first serves as well, 75% in the first set, which is, of course, the set that he won, but 70% in the second set, which is also great. And when Tsitsipas is making all of his first serves and his forehand is a menace, it is so unbelievably difficult to break his serve because there's so much firepower coming at you right away on those first two shots, serve plus forehand. I also really liked how Tsitsipas was putting in the maximum effort with his footwork to create as many forehands as possible. That's tough on grass when the ball is coming a little bit faster. But I think when Tsitsipas is giving, I'll say 95% effort instead of 100% effort, which is not uncommon. And it's not that I'm saying that that's weird for Tsitsipas. That's true for all tennis players. Very few are always giving everything. But one way you can tell if Tsitsipas is really putting everything out there is how many backhands he's accepting that don't need to be backhands. And not only in this match was he hustling over to his left to create forehands, but he was also sharply anticipating spots where he could lean left and move early because he knew that Murray was going to the ad side when he was able to get a read on that. I'll talk about some moments where that happened. And I think Murray, before he got fully confident off the ground in this match, which maybe took a little bit of time, he was falling into the trap of going to the backhand without enough width or a positioning advantage. So, that means he was sometimes going into the ad side, but it wasn't close enough to the sideline. And Tsitsipas wasn't, pulled off to his forehand side either. So there was no positioning advantage. And that was giving Stefanos the chance to sometimes create forehands when Andy was trying to get it to his backhand, which is really the big no-no, kind of the kiss of death against Tsitsipas when he's playing well, is to allow him to hit that forehand from the backhand side. That was happening sometimes. And it happened in a key spot, 3-all in the first set tiebreak, when Murray, traded his backhand cross court and Tsitsipas just stepped around and hit a forehand inside-in winner. While we're here, let's wrap up this tiebreak. It's worth talking about because it was exceptional from Steph. Tsitsipas hit a service winner on the next point. That made it 5-3. At 5-3, he hit another amazing forehand cross court. Spectacular open stance, kind of on the run from a neutral position, but he roped it cross court to set up an easy finish. The court was wide open for the next ball. Then on set point, great defensive lob that reset the point back to neutral. Then he hit another huge forehand to open up the point and eventually win it. So if you want to see a forehand performing at the highest level possible, the highest level you'll see, watch the end of this first set. The last 4 points, one of them was a service winner, but the other 3 were products of incredible play off of the Tsitsipas forehand, which we saw throughout the first set. But notice Murray was with him in that first set. He didn't get broken. And as we go throughout the second set, Tsitsipas maintains his intensity. He continues to serve well, hit the forehand well, but Andy is staying with him. And I think, the big reason was how Murray was basically taking advantage of Tsitsipas's returning and his backhand in general, which was much easier to do when Murray was serving. Because when the point was more neutral, it did feel like there was a big firepower advantage for Murray. And if Tsitsipas got the slightest look to hit a forehand with his feet set, or if he had some time, even sometimes on the run, as we covered in the tiebreak, Andy was getting hurt. He was getting hurt big time. And whenever Tsitsipas got a look at a mid-court forehand, the point was over. You can forget about it. Now, that's a tough position for Murray to be in. But Andy was playing so well as to not really give Tsitsipas those looks. Now, obviously, when Stefanos is, coming off of his first serve, he's going to get those looks, and sometimes off his second serve. But when Murray was serving, he was serving exceptionally well. Let's start there. 66% in over the course of the 3 sets. No real lapses. I don't think there was a moment where it felt like Murray was missing them again and again and again. They were just kind of spread out, which is how you want your misses to be. Really clutch, great in the clutch. New motion, I should mention. Murray isn't really doing as much like rocking back and forth. Instead, he's just kind of coming out of his ball bouncing and just basically, I don't know how to say it, getting on with it. And he used to kind of get into his knee bend really early. Almost as he was tossing the ball, he was already in his knee bend. And now he's much more upright as he's tossing the ball. And I don't think he's getting as deep in the knee bend at any point in his motion as he used to. And it's really working. I think there's just less movement, less motion going on in his overall service technique. That's like the very simplified analysis of what he's doing. And I mean, it's working. He served brilliantly against Peniston, and he's serving so well again. And look, as much as Tsitsipas was playing at his highest level, his backhand return didn't magically get great, or it actually didn't even magically get good. So Andy was still able to make good serve to Tsitsipas's backhand, not necessarily always get the service winner out of it, but at least get the floating block return, and then dictate from there by, going intensely to the backhand, approaching the backhand at times, when going to the forehand, going there with really good width so that Tsitsipas is on the move as he hits his forehand. And basically the saving grace for Murray, again, is he's not letting Tsitsipas get any chances to hit aggressive forehands because Murray is the one on the offensive behind his serve. Now, if Tsitsipas could have hit neutralizing backhand returns, there's nothing Murray could have done in this match or in the first, in the second set. There's no way he could have won. The saving grace for Murray, again, was he was on offense behind his serve every time. That was key. But, God, was he clean as well, right? I mean, Tsitsipas moves well. The backhand, I got to say, of Tsitsipas, the Tsitsipas backhand, it was not bad in the sense that he wasn't missing that often off of it. He was making it. But it's playable. That's the difference. It's a playable ball. The forehand for Tsitsipas, not really playable. Murray is so good at making Tsitsipas play those backhands from positions where most players wouldn't be able to make him play backhands from. Like if you bring a lot of pace to Murray's forehand, tons of pace, most guys with tons of pace, they can't redirect. They have to go back cross court into Tsitsipas's forehand. But Murray can redirect. It basically doesn't matter how hard you hit it at his forehand. He can always massage that redirection back down the line. So that's one thing. But even from the backhand defense of Murray, whether he's slicing it or if he's hitting over it, he's so good at getting that backhand defense angled cross court. Most players can't do that. They got to go middle. And if they do go cross court, it's just not sharp enough. But Murray kind of keeps it low and he keeps it angled. It's so good what he's able to do from that position. So, he's making Steph hit an impressive amount of backhands on the return of serve as well. 34% backhands, first ball backhands for Tsitsipas. With as well as Steph was serving, that's a very impressive number. Now, let's talk about the tiebreak real quick in the second set. In the second set tiebreak, you had two moments that stood out. 1-all, second serve for Tsitsipas. Murray returned to the backhand. Now you get a playable ball. And on the next ball, Tsitsipas backhand cross court, Murray steps in and ropes the backhand with a lot of pace. Tsitsipas tries to run around, and he's rushed because it had a lot of quality. That backhand was hard and flat, and it got through the court, and Tsitsipas just was rushed on this tough runaround forehand. Then at 2-4, after Murray hit a couple of service winners, great serving by Andy. At 4-2, Murray's serving at 4-2. It is 2-4. Tsitsipas is serving. Tsitsipas misses another first serve. Then on the second serve, huge pace on the return, right through the middle. And again, Tsitsipas's forehand is rushed, and it misses. Big difference here. Something that happens at the end of the second set, beginning of the third set, Murray gets more confident off the ground. And I think, plain and simple, he upped the pace. And that avoided that kind of pattern that I was saying in the first set, where sometimes Murray would go to the backhand side and it wouldn't quite get to the backhand. And that's really what you want to avoid. I just feel like Murray was getting a little bit more pace on the return, and he was emboldened off the ground because he was more confident and he started hitting bigger, where he could attack the Tsitsipas forehand more confidently, open up more space on the backhand, and, on these two occasions, go to the forehand, right? And actually get the miss because you're going with so much pace. So he wins that tiebreak, obviously, after winning that point at 2-4. Great movement as well at 5-2, and eventually gets a Tsitsipas backhand on forced error because Murray made so many balls. And then another service winner at 6-2. A lot of free points. Third set, they take a break. There's a long break. And Darren Cahill made this point. I thought it was a great thing to say, great insight. Cahill was like, look, when both guys are playing this well at a quality that's this high, it really becomes about who can keep up the energy. Like who can continue to play that well. It's not about X's and O's and tactics at that point, although I think both players were executing really strong quality tactics. It's just like who can just stay in that zone. And at the end of the second set, there's this long break as Tsitsipas goes to the bathroom, and I believe he changes his clothes. And, they're off court for, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And how is that break going to affect the energy? And Murray was kind of out there early. He didn't go off court. If he did, he was back far before Stefanos. And, of course, they have a history in this area of, Murray basically lambasting Tsitsipas for taking 8-minute bathroom breaks before it was illegal, before it was against the rules. And I just have a feeling like Andy got himself fired up in this break. Usually you get an energy dump, like the set ends And it's like, you want it in a tie break, especially a close set, and it's like, exhale. And now you have this hangover. But between the second and the third set, instead of a hangover, Andy, it's almost like he got out of his chair early and fired himself up over, once again, Tsitsipas being off court for a while. I'm not calling out Tsitsipas here. He's doing nothing wrong. Let me be very, very clear. All I'm saying is what I think happened psychologically, because Andy came in so intense first game of the third set. And it was Tsitsipas who, came from that break and kind of had that natural thing happen where it's like, all right, like start of the set, like let's just settle in for a second. I haven't actually been moving for about 5 minutes now, and it might take me a second. Oh, nope, you're not allowed a second because it's love 40. It's love 40 on Tsitsipas' serve to start the third set, and Murray would end up breaking serve. So the two biggest things I noticed in the third set was the energy at the very start from Murray and how he got a little bit more confident hitting big and how that emboldened him to go at the Tsitsipas forehand and how that kind of opened up the baseline patterns for Murray a little bit more. Whereas in the first set, he felt a little bit suffocated. It felt like, oh no, if I get it to the forehand, I'm going to get crushed. So I better hit it in this tiny spot on the court, which is the only spot where Tsitsipas won't run around and hurt me with the forehand. That's kind of how it felt like. All right, keys for tomorrow. Whose high level is more sustainable is the question mark at the end of the day. It comes down to that same thing that Darren Cahill said. Forget X's and O's. Forget your technical advantages on both sides. Both of them played so awesome in this, in the first three sets. The question is, when they come out, is it still going to look like that? Look, Murray is older, and he has more of a history of wearing down in these best-of-5 set tournaments recently, right? But Tsitsipas has a brutal schedule. He went 5 sets with team, and now he's gone 3 more intense sets, and now it's going to be 3 days in a row when he comes back out tomorrow. A 5-setter, 3 sets, and now he's got to win 2 sets the next day. That's brutal, right? Andy had a quick match against Peniston. Really quick, really efficient. One of the best blowouts. Actually, I was looking at it statistically. It's his most efficient victory since hip surgery at a major. Now, Murray also had that incident at the end of the third set. He's serving out the third, and it's 40 love. He loses the 40 love point, and I forget how exactly. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to waste time, but he loses the 40 love point. On the 40-15 point, Tsitsipas hits a great forehand inside out, and Andy slips and kind of grabs his groin area, and he yelped, and he was down in pain. And for a second, my heart completely sunk. I thought we had seen something terrible, and it didn't quite look like that. Now Murray hit a service winner, another one, to win the set. But then just reading his body language, it seemed like Andy was okay. But that's another factor. Did he hurt himself there? Because we didn't really see Andy after that have to really move and play a point. Obviously, all he did was hit a serve, and that was the end of the set. That's going to be fascinating. And, God, fingers crossed that doesn't become a factor. I only bring up the 40 love thing because if it is a factor, you just think about how Andy, did have a point to basically end the day, just get out of the set, and that would have been the end of it. But although I suppose whenever an injury happens, you have that butterfly effect where, any point goes a different way and it changes the entire course of history. But, this one was a little bit more obvious. Another factor, the roof is going to be open. That helps Murray, in my opinion. Look, Tsitsipas is the guy who, you look at his track record on indoor hard court versus outdoor hard court, and there's a pretty big difference there. All of Steph's titles are indoors. He's just better on indoor hard court. And, Andy's the guy playing with less margin. I won't go into more detail. I'll leave it at that, but I think it favors Andy. Ultimately, I think I like Murray for 3 reasons. The first reason is he's up 2-1. The second reason is he has experience dealing with these unusual circumstances. It takes a certain amount of recovery and preparation, and you have to be confident in everything you're doing. And in the last major, Tsitsipas was like, whoops, took a nap, took a melatonin, messed up my preparation, and that's why I stunk against Alcaraz. That was only a month ago. So if these kinds of things are still a challenge for Tsitsipas, like how you're preparing and how you're dealing with these kinds of things, that's an issue. I'm pretty confident that Andy's going to know exactly how to handle this. Then the third thing, it's a little bit similar, but I think I just trust Murray's mental consistency a hair more, whereas, Tsitsipas, I said it at the very start of the video. This was as intense as I have seen him play in a very, very long time, mentally. Like, even in the team match, I don't think he looked like this at all. So are we going to get that again? Because for Andy, I'm pretty sure the competitor that he is at Wimbledon and how confident he is right now after, the grass court season he had, I'm pretty certain that Andy's not going to come out flat here mentally. But Steph, I don't think he will, but there's a larger chance. So I think Murray, for those three reasons, is a little bit more likely to keep up his level compared to Tsitsipas. I hope that they both keep up their level. The reason I got rid of the Tsitsipas video yesterday, Tsitsipas team, is I thought that because I was kind of split attention and I was kind of focused on Djokovic Thompson and I was doing my live stream for playback and I just wasn't locked in that entire match watching every point. And I decided to kind of really focus on a couple of big points, especially at the end. And everything I said about those points, I stand by. I stand by my analysis completely. But I thought it wasn't fair that I was zoomed in on a couple points and I had to get so negative about a match where I didn't really see all of it and I didn't have the full picture and the full context. So that's why I felt, I'm willing to get negative. You guys know that. I'll tell it like I see it, but I didn't think it was fair of me to do that. It wasn't even that I was getting bad feedback on that video. The feedback was fine, but in my own heart, I didn't like it. So that's why I took it down. So I did want to clear that up for those of you who are still watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. Looking forward to tomorrow. And I hope it's a great match. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.